I'm Bill Poseel, the president of the National Forest Foundation. We have a number of really interesting presentations today from our award winners and Undersecretary Bonnie, Leslie Weldon, and Craig Barrett. I just wanted to take this opportunity to welcome all of you, and for those particularly on the phone with the media that don't know the National Forest Foundation, we're a private sector partner with the Forest Service, and we work with thousands of people, individuals across the country, and engaging them in caring for the National Forest System. It's really rewarding work. There are hundreds of organizations that we support through our matching award program and through our Treasure Landscapes campaign. And I think Leslie is going to cover why this is so important today. One of the people that we have had the privilege of working with on this challenge is Craig Barrett. And Craig was really interested a long time ago, before he went into engineering and material science and forestry, was accepted to Oregon State University. Some of us in this room graduated from Oregon State University in the forestry program, and decided that after getting a scholarship at Stanford to go on to become an engineer, and then later left as a professor at Stanford to join Intel, and eventually rose to the position of chairman and CEO. And like so many people who are really affected by these places, these extraordinary places, Craig has stepped up and really wanted to do something to create some incentives to deal with this phenomenal challenge we have in caring for the National Forest System. I want to congratulate the award winners. You're going to hear from them today. They did really incredible work in really thinking about the market-based solutions to some of these challenges, and I'm looking forward to their presentations. And it's my pleasure to introduce Leslie Weldon now, and Leslie is the Deputy Chief for the National Forest System. She is our liaison between the Forest Service and the National Forest Foundation, has worked across the National Forest System, and has been a strong advocate for collaboration and involving the public in caring for these resources. So, Leslie, thank you for being here.
Thanks much, Bill. All right, well, thank you so much for being here today. And what I wanted to share with you was a bit about the National Forest System and about this partnership that we have with the National Forest Foundation. Like, as Bill said, you know, this system, and I have a map of our National Forest System here for folks who want to look at it later, is an incredible resource and legacy for the folks of this country. These national forest lands are critical to the social, economic, and ecological well-being of our nation. Many of you know that, you know, talking with folks in the room so far, many of you are connected to natural resource management through your life experiences, through your work. And I think it's really important for us to be in a place where we promote the importance of the value of these lands to citizens. They provide us with benefits such as clean air, clean water, minerals, energy, fertile soils that support forage, that these forests help store carbon. They provide wildlife habitat and fisheries habitat for literally hundreds of species, thousands of plant species, and you could just go on and on. They're very important to us because the need for us to restore these forests and grasslands is front and center when we look at our work in the agency. We're at an unprecedented time as it relates to the impacts that our national forests are seeing from development, the potential loss of forests in this country to development, to the changing climate that we see and are experiencing with changes in weather patterns that are resulting in wildfire like we've never seen before, with insect and disease outbreaks, and with things that are affecting the quality of our water in this country. Our national forests, if we care for our national forests, we'll be caring for many of the values and benefits that are important to citizens. The other thing I'll point out is for many citizens, over 160 million or so, their experience with the national forest comes from them coming to have fun on the national forest, whether it's skiing, hiking, bird watching, whether it's that person who can have the privilege of leaving their town or their backyard and head into the national forest to get their daily exercise, or folks who really take epic adventures to come and enjoy the national forest. It's a backdrop to a lot of the economies that we have in our rural areas, and a real legacy that we have. So the National Forest Foundation is our closest partner in being able to enable the Forest Service to deliver its mission. This prize we're very grateful for because it is taking on, what we have as a conundrum. How can we more quickly address the issues we're facing in our national forests, especially as it relates to reducing the amount of forest density, that helps to reduce that risk of wildfire, that helps to prevent those insects and disease and change fire behavior over time, and ultimately protect water, habitat, and citizens. And by extension, make those experiences that people come to have on a national forest something they can look forward to in healthy, vibrant environments. So the idea of the Barrett Prize, which we'll hear about more later, is really to look at more in different innovative ways that we can pull together both the private sector, the educational, institutional sector, and our national forest to look at ways to solve these issues and problems more quickly. So it's been excellent to see how that's been progressing, and I was very excited to be part of the group that got to look over the candidates for this, and very happy for the strength of the competition that we saw this year. I will close by saying, we very much look forward to continuing to work with the National Forest Foundation as we launch into this next few years. Our work is going to focus on forests that are resilient, healthy, ready to adapt to climate change, but also the value and importance of connecting citizens to those lands. That combination together is really what it's about for the Forest Service in all of our work to be successful in helping care for the nation's forests and grasslands. So with that, I'd like to introduce our Undersecretary, Robert Bonney. Just a few words about him. Robert oversees the Forest Service and the Natural Resources Conservation Service on behalf of the Secretary of Agriculture. He's a senior advisor to Secretary Tom Vilsack on environment and climate change, and he has a master's degree in forestry, in resource economics from Duke University. Grew up in a farm in Kentucky and is now living in Virginia. So I'd like to welcome you up for some comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. So I want to start off with a couple of thanks. First, thanks to the National Forest Foundation, Bill, and your team's work. You all have been a hugely important partner to us in restoration of the National Forest System lands. Look forward to continued work. You all have also, I also want to call out the work we've done in the San Gabriel National Monument to bring more people from urban areas into onto the Angeles National Forest. So, second, thanks to Dr. Barrett. Dr. Barrett's been a champion of education, a champion of using technology to benefit living standards across the globe. Those are important, but what really matters is forests, which is why we're here today, and of course you've been a great champion of forests and forest restoration. I think today to highlight the important role that businesses can play in forest restoration. As Leslie points out, forests are facing many threats. We have fire seasons that are 60 to 80 days longer, 40 plus million acres of impacted timber in the inland west from bark beetles, and the numbers are higher if you look at other insects and diseases. We have invasive species challenges, and we have increasing demands not only on recreation but on our use of our public forests for all kinds of multiple uses, and of course our private lands as well, which, as Leslie points out, are impacted by urbanization and other threats as well. And as we look to the National Forest System lands, it's vital that we increase the pace and scale of restoration. That's been a top priority for the Forest Service. But we're operating in a difficult budgetary environment. We have fire is gobbling up more and more of the Forest Service's budget. We used to spend 16% of our annual budget on fire. Today we spend 42% in a good year, and sometimes close to 50%. So to increase the pace and scale, we need to increase the amount of work we can get done on the National Forest, but we don't have more staff, we have less staff. We have a lot fewer staff than we had even 2 decades ago. One way we can do that is by streamlining our own processes, and there's a lot of work to do that, and work collaboratively with local groups to do that. And I think we're making a lot of headway. But another way is actually to look to markets, to partner with private businesses to create value for the things that we need to remove in the forest and the restoration we need to do. And that's why I think today's challenge awards are so important. It honors exactly that, how we can use partner with businesses to get more work done in the woods. So without any further ado, let me ask Dr. Barrett to come up and present the awards.
Well, as you heard earlier, I really wanted to be a forest ranger my entire life. An engineering scholarship to Stanford got in the way, so it took me until retirement to really become a forest ranger. And my wife and I are fortunate enough to own a few acres in Montana, in western Montana, and are trying to be good stewards of that property. But we've experienced exactly the issues that have been talked about today. We've experienced bark beetle damage, we've experienced catastrophic fires and other issues on our 2 ranches we have there. I've been pleased to be associated with Bill Poseel and the National Forest Foundation and his staff for the last 12 years or so, maybe more than 12. Time goes by quickly. And I've been in countless discussions. First of all, the organization does a fantastic job, and the staff does a fantastic job, and the thousands of volunteers who work with the National Forest Foundation do a fantastic job in restoring and maintaining national forests around the U.S. But I've been in countless conversations where we talked about the issues that were just mentioned, and that is, how do you maintain and restore our national forest to this wonderful thing of beauty that we all envision them to be. And it's always a budgetary discussion. And the budgetary discussion is always, we don't have enough money. We have millions of acres to restore and thin and battle invasive species, but we just don't have enough money to do that. And having been born in Silicon Valley and grown up in Silicon Valley and worked in Silicon Valley my entire professional career, I just have seen thousands and thousands of wonderful examples of what the private sector can do and what an entrepreneur can do and what an idea can do. And so one day in a meeting, I just threw out the concept of, let's stop grousing about we don't have enough money. Let's put our thinking caps on and figure out how we can take and harness the innovative power, the creative power of people who have good ideas that can help us accomplish this task. And that's how this prize was thought about. By the way, by way of example, the company that I used to work for, Intel, was the first example of venture capital-backed company in the United States. In 1968, venture capital did not exist. A gentleman by the name of Arthur Rock, San Francisco, met Bob Noyce and Gordon Moore. They had an idea. He was able to create a venture capital fund to fund Intel when it started. He also funded a couple of other companies, Apple you may have heard of, and a few, but I think those 2 companies are wonderful examples of what can be accomplished by taking an idea and giving it some funds and then letting it go. Not every company is going to be an Intel, an Apple, a Facebook, or what have you, but bringing that creative spark, that idea into forest restoration, I think is really a cool deal. Now, we've run this contest kind of unofficially a couple of times and got the kinks out of it, and we're, I think, have a great process. We have a great review team. We get great ideas that come into this, and it's my pleasure today to kind of introduce you to the 2 top winners of this contest, who get a little bit of a cash award, which presumably will help them take their idea and get it into the marketplace. And the ideas are all associated with basically forest restoration, sustainable use of the forest, improvement of the forest. Those are the general guidelines associated with this. Our second place winner is associated with taking forest residue, stuff that's left over when you take the marketable trees and send them off to the lumber mill. What's left? What can you do with that product? How can you make good use of it? And this idea is associated with basically turning that forest residue into 2 useful commodity products, methanol and carbon dioxide. That's methanol for those of you that like to drink ethanol. This is the commercial alcohol that does not show up in your normal liquor stores. But United Methanol is the company. Stephen Jenkins is the chief honcho. And I'd like to have Stephen come up and just give a few words about United Methanol and tell you what his company idea, product idea is to help national forests. Stephen?
Hello everybody, my name is Stephen Jenkins. I'm a senior at the University of Montana studying forestry with a minor in fire. I originally lived in Big Fork, and that's where I work in the summertime. It's an honor to be here today to receive this award and speak in front of such a distinguished group. I'd also like to begin by thanking Mr. Barrett and the National Forest Foundation for sponsoring the Barrett Business Challenge. I also like to thank the review committee, the distinguished judges that saw the value in our market-based solution to biomass utilization. 5 years ago, I began working as a wildland firefighter in Big Fork, Montana. I enjoy wildland firefighting, and I find it very fulfilling. One of the collateral duties is assigned to firefighters is going around and burning these slash piles that are left over after a logging operation. They're about a quarter of the total weight that comes out of a...
Join the conference.
Well, hello. While burning these piles is fun, they can be anywhere from the size of a mid-sized car to that of a small apartment building. I realized that there had to be something more that could be done with these vast expanses of energy, and instead of releasing them as greenhouse gases into the environment and creating huge noxious weed patches that will just over time create huge problems in our forest. So the Barrett Foundation Challenge is what turned this from kind of a hobby that I was looking into a business plan that I couldn't wait to get a team together to find a way to get a solution to unlock the value of wood waste. After months of research on the economics, policy, and the operations of this new technology, my team was able to identify the problems in the market and the opportunities, and to find ways to capitalize on these opportunities. The conventional model of biomass utilization is to take a huge plant, a centralized plant that consumes tens of thousands of pounds of tons of biomass a year. And it doesn't work in western Montana or much of the country. Actually, if you're more than 50 miles away from one of these centralized plants, it really isn't economically viable in anything that I've seen to transport this wood waste. So we realized the best way to unlock the value was, instead of taking the biomass to the plant, why not take the plant to the biomass? We designed a system that is small, mobile, and modular, able to respond to the changing dynamics of timber harvesting in the United States. Another break from convention is that while most utilization concepts turn biomass into electricity, we have two valuable co-products that we create: methanol and carbon dioxide. Methanol is one of the most basic building blocks in chemical production and in biodiesel, and carbon dioxide is used in the medical industry, beverage industry, as well as several other industries. The culmination of these unique design features, coupled with the business relationships that we have developed, have allowed us to create a project that is ready to move from the design stage into production. Through innovation and hard work, my team has created a new way to economically produce high-value products from wood waste, while reducing release of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. Thank you, Mr. Barrett, and thank you for everybody else involved with this competition for awarding an entrepreneurial solution to resource issues.
Just to support some of the things that Stephen mentioned, the big ranch we have in Montana was severely burned in the year 2000 when the whole Bitterroot Valley burned up. And we had a little bit more flexibility in the Forest Service and renovation, because we didn't have to worry about licenses, lawsuits, or any of that stuff that they have to deal with on a routine basis. And we salvage logged it and took 10 million board feet of burned timber, which is, if you into that business, that's roughly 1% of the U.S. timber production in a year off the ranch, and probably ended up with somewhere between, I don't know, about 30,000 burn piles of slash, which our teams raked up into piles, burned them. All this bad stuff goes in the atmosphere. Then you have to come back in and reseed them and replant the area. So there's an immense amount of work. Anything you can do to minimize that is fantastic. And this whole concept of a mobile plant or a flexible location plant to get to the raw material, I think, is wonderful. The first prize winner in the Barrett Prize this year also focuses on forest residue and uses for it. And it's associated with basically turning that residue into effectively a charcoal product that can be used as a ground or a soil additive in the agriculture industry. The benefits there are increased yield in agricultural products, decreased water usage, all of the good things you associated with, in fact, agriculture, to make agriculture more productive and less invasive on the environment, using less natural resources. The company is called Charburn, basically creates biochar, and it's targeted towards making biochar less expensive, more useful, lowering the distribution costs, and increasing agricultural results. All good stuff. And all good stuff because it goes back into the forest and basically makes use of that residue and gives it some residual value, which then can be used to offset the cost of the forest thinning and get to forest health, which we're all interested in. So what I'd like to do is have Niles Brenton, the leader of this team, come up and tell you in his words what they're doing and how wonderful it's going to be. Right, Niles? That's right.
Thank you, Craig. So good morning, everyone. My name is Niles Brenton. I am the co-founder and CEO of Charburn, and I would just like to begin today by thanking the National Forest Foundation and the Craig and Barbara Barrett Foundation for making it possible for me and my co-founder Debbie to be here today. I'm honored to accept the Barrett Foundation Business Concept Challenge Grand Prize on behalf of Charburn. We will put this award to good use, building a business and an industry that connects and sustains our forests and our farmland while boosting our economy and our environmental quality. And we look forward to working closely with forest managers in many of our nation's overcrowded, fire-prone forests. As it's been mentioned already here today, record-breaking fires are sweeping across our national forests, and many of those fires have record-breaking price tags for firefighting. So the need to restore our forests to a state where fire is a healthy ecological process is greater than ever. And as also was mentioned today, the hard truth of that situation is that restoration of those many millions of acres of forest lands is an extremely expensive undertaking. So at Charburn, our goal is to create valuable carbon sequestering soil amendments out of biomass from overcrowded forests. And by unlocking a large agricultural demand to go with this extraordinary supply, we think that the power of the market can be carefully used to clean up our forests. So this simple idea has ramifications in a number of aspects in our economy, such as water, energy, forestry, agriculture, and carbon. And we think that our business will be a powerful tool for improving soil fertility, for cutting emissions, and for sequestering carbon. And our foundation is an eco-entrepreneurial approach where economic benefits and environmental benefits go hand in hand. So none of this would have been possible without the support of our families, our friends, our teachers, our advisors. And I would just like to say thank you to all those that are listening today, those who couldn't be here. Your support, past, present, and future, is immense and immeasurable. So now I'd like to leave you with a quick quote from Theodore Roosevelt, a man who embodied certain entrepreneurial characteristics such as vision, hard work, and the audacity to improve upon the status quo. And Teddy was also an instrumental player in the founding of the U.S. Forest Service over 100 years ago. So, it is only through labor and painful effort, by grim energy and resolute courage, that we move on to better things. Thank you.
Thank you, Niles and Stephen.